It's almost time, everybody. We're basically here. We made it to Bike Week, and it is time for the Progressive American Flat Track season to get underway. Before I dive into today's preview show, I want to highlight a couple of things really quick about Bike Week. So if you guys are traveling in for some racing, please make sure you check out Friday, February 28th. It's the RPM Promotions race at Lakeview Speedway in South Carolina. Then Saturday, March 1st, 2nd and 3rd, we've got Waycross, Georgia for the Steve Nace All-Star and Amateur Vintage races before they move over to the Daytona Short Track there on March 5th. I believe all of these races are going to have some form of streaming, so whether it's Fans Choice or what the RPM Promotion guys have going for them. So if you're not able to be at the race, please make sure you get those streaming subscriptions so that you can follow along and help support these tracks and promoters that are giving you guys some entertainment and showcasing all the racing that is going to happen at Bike Week. I remember when I was a kid buying all the VHS tapes from Daytona Bike Week and getting to watch all the racing back. It was so cool to have those memories to hold on to. And so make sure you're supporting this. Support those riders who are out there and those promoters who are making these races happen down there in Bike Week. We're going to be tuned in following along all week. So, hey, like I said, we're here. We got racing. And let's dive into today's Twins preview. So it's a new era for the Twins class in flat track racing. The Indian FTR750 is no more. One of the best riders of all time has retired. And so this is a key and critical year for this class. With the rule changes and everything, it's, all eyes are going to be on the Super Twins class, and there's a lot of pressure on it to deliver. I'm just going to be honest. We need some excitement, and I think we're going to get that. There's going to be a huge shakeup, a lot of things going on with this class, and first off, with the Indian going away, I want to look at some of the top riders who were on an Indian last year and what their offseason has sort of looked like. So, of course, Jared Mees, he's retired. He went out on top, 10-time champion. Brandon Robinson, second in points last year. He's going to be shifting over to a Harley Davidson. Davis Fisher, I haven't seen the official announcement yet, but we heard on a Tank Slapping podcast a while back with Jimmy Wood. It sounds like Fisher's going to stay with Rackley. Jared Vanderkooi is going to be riding a KTM this year with Fast Track Racing. And unfortunately, for one of our top rookies, Declan Bender, he has no ride. Now, I know Trevor Bruner was on an Indian and a KTM some of last year. We don't have him on that graphic, but we talked about him in the singles preview, stepping back into the singles class with Turner Racing on those Hondas. But all of these riders and more, lots of shakeups going on in the class. And with Jared Mees stepping away, I thought it'd be interesting to look at what the wins would have looked like if Mees wasn't in the field last year. So if you took him out of the results, how would things look? And well, if Jared wasn't racing and you just moved everybody up from the races that he won, you would see Dallas would have gone from 3 wins to 8 wins. Brandon Robinson and Briar Bauman would stay at 3 and 2. JD Beach would keep his 2 wins, and Davis Fisher would bump up to have gotten a win there in Springfield. And this could be similar to what we're going to see this year. I'm not entirely sure we're going to see that exact breakdown, but 4 winners seems to be probably where we're trending. There's definitely, I believe, 3 guys who are going to be in the title conversation all year long. It's going to be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th from points a year ago, and that's Dallas Daniels, Briar Bauman, Brandon Robinson. I know that wasn't their finishing order in points last year, but those 3 riders I think are going to be our focal point of the Twins class this year. There's a lot of competitive riders in this class, and it'll be fun to see how the season shakes out. But these 3 guys last year just felt like they were head and shoulders above that next level, and we're the only ones to really challenge Mees on a nightly basis and to be sort of in that title hunt, as we saw all the way down to crunch time last year. Breyer's unfortunate Springfield mile really took him out of any chance for that, and but still, we had an exciting close to the season. I want to lead off with Dallas Daniels. Dallas with that devastating injury that really ruined his championship last year, missing those 3 rounds, and still was able to come home 3rd in the championship. He picked up 3 wins on the year, 13 podiums, a perfect 13 for 13 on the box last year. Dallas's average finish was a 2.0, so an average finish in 2nd. It was the best in the class, and he led 79 laps last year, second only to Jared Mees, who, just the domination that Jared had to bring home that championship at the end of the year. After that Sturgis DQ, I think Jared was like, all right, we're going to step on everybody's throat and take this bad boy home. So Dallas is going to be looking for a lot of redemption this year. He's still on the Estenson bike, still under that tent, and has a lot of comfort and familiarity with that program. The amount of development that's gone into those Yamahas is next level. Dallas is going to absolutely be a force, and it's one of those things where if Dallas went perfect on the podium all year, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. I don't think he's going to win every single race. I would be surprised if he only gets 3 wins. I think he will definitely elevate that up, probably north of 5 this year. So I expect Dallas to be very formidable and a heavy title contender. He's just so consistent. He's such a good rider. That team has got so much going for him. So expect Dallas to be definitely a front runner. We picked him to win the championship last year, and I guess we cursed him. So I'm not picking anybody to be the actual champion this year because I don't want anybody to get the bad luck of Scotty talking about him as a quote unquote championship prediction. So we've got title favorites. I'm just going to leave it at that. And Dallas is certainly one of those. A rider coming off his best year in the class is Brandon Robinson. And Brandon was right there in the title fight all the way down to Lake Ozark. He led a few laps there, was looking sporty, ultimately comes home second in the championship, his best result. He got 3 wins on the year, led the championship at several points during the season, was really formidable, was a force on a lot of tracks. Just that Sturgis TT and DuQuoin result really pampered their season. Put together a great Peoria. We were talking about how that could be a hindrance to him, but he got a top 5 there. One of his 13 top 5s on the year. One of the best in the class when it comes to that. He had 4 quick times, and he had an average finish of 3.9, which was the best of his career. So averaging effectively a podium throughout the season is amazing for Brandon. And we'll see how things are going to transition for him into that Harley Davidson. He's found a little bit of success on that bike when he rode it way back in 2017, 2018 with the factory effort. And at that time, still a lot of development going on with that machine, and the Indian being just far superior. They were behind the 8 ball on that, and Brandon was still able to put together a couple of top 5s on that and have some solid performances. Got a lot of the same people in his corner this year, so they're going to be looking to make that Harley have leaps and bounds of success this year and move forward with that program. Excited to see what he can accomplish on that bike and see if he can turn that second place championship into an actual number 1 plate and hold that title. Wouldn't be surprised for Brandon to get 3 or more wins either. He's a very consistent rider, a lot of short tracks on the schedule this year. He loves Daytona. Wouldn't be surprised if he picked up a victory down there to start the season again and became the all-time winningest rider at Daytona. Right now, I think he's tied with a couple other riders at 4, so that'll be fun to watch him dice it up down there. And really looking forward to seeing what Brandon's got in store for the 2025 season after having to step off the Indian, where he's found a good bit of success over the past couple of years. But runner-up to Mees in points, and I'm not ready to just say that just because he's switching brands that he's not going to be able to fight with Dallas for victories here in 2025. 2-time champ Briar Bauman also sounds like he's switching brands. As of the time of recording this video, I have not seen an announcement from Briar on official things, but there's been a lot of chatter about him possibly being on a Harley this year. And Briar coming off of just 2 wins a year ago, but he had 12 top 5s, led 66 laps, had an average finish of 5.9, and was 4th in points. He was 4th in points in 2023 as well. Not where Briar wants to be, being a 2-time champion of the class. I know he wants to elevate back up to that top step a lot more. That double DNF in Springfield, as we mentioned earlier in the show, really devastating for their championship hopes. Those issues on that KTM. And Briar, he had some really just wow performances on that bike, but never seemed to fully gel with it. Would have these hints of greatness and what we know Briar's capable of with all the success that he found on the Indian, but just never found that same momentum with the KTM. And we'll see what Briar's going to be competing on here in 2025, but I expect him to be a force. Again, I expect Dallas, B-Rob, and Briar to all elevate their win totals in 2025. I don't see Briar only getting 2. I don't see Brandon only getting 3, and I don't see Dallas only getting 3. I expect them to definitely be getting more victories. And these guys are, I feel like, going to be sort of the big 3 of this class, just like the singles were last year with Cody Cott, Chase Sadoff, and Tom Drain. I think the twins could see a very competitive big 3 here in 2025. And reflecting, we've listed off a lot of stuff that happened in 2024, but why don't we let the riders reflect on their 2024 season and what they have on their minds going into 2025?
2024 was obviously a pretty damn solid year for myself. The best I've ever done overall in the Grand National Championship, finishing second. We had a pretty dang consistent season, 3 wins. I think I had 8 podiums. A couple of places I still need to clean up and work on and whatnot, but for the most part, we had a pretty solid year. Really excited with the program that we had last year, and with Ben Evans as my crew chief and Cale Colton coming in on suspension, and we're going to roll that over into 2025. So it's going to be nice to have that familiarity. Obviously, for this year, we're switching brands because we have to. So The notebook's kind of out the door right now, so we're getting ready to start the whole testing process and kind of rebuild that notebook and try to be prepared come Daytona.
Consistency wins championships. You could argue I was the fastest guy and I was the best guy on the weekend, but I didn't make it to the finish, and you got to make it to the finish. So I think that was the biggest thing. Some of the accomplishments that stick out of my mind is being on the podium in every race, which was a huge accomplishment. That just showed where we've come as a team, where I've come as a rider, building that consistency that I'm talking about. And, winning Lima, that was a big one just because 2 second places in my first 2 years racing there, getting beat by good guys like Breyer and Brandon, and being able to overcome that and win that race in a pretty dominant fashion was special. And I think the biggest one, though, was being able to come back from my injury and sit on the front row at Springfield Mile and get on the podium to prove to myself that, hey, I might have made a mistake, but I'm definitely not going to lose it, and I'm not quitting. And, it just felt good to be back. This offseason's been a little bit different because I had to spend, them first few months getting my body back healthy. I did those last 3 races, and you kind of think like, oh, man, we're back good. And then I got back home, and it's like, actually, I've got to heal up. Like, my leg was still practically broken. And I had a little bit of other stuff going on that I had to deal with. So once I kind of got through that, just kind of back getting my body in shape, which I hadn't had to deal with, it was kind of like, every year I'd train a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more of an idea, and I would just build on that, where this was the first year I kind of like took a step back because of the injury. So it's actually been kind of fun in a way to build that back up and see that fitness and stuff coming back. But other than that, it's been pretty much the same. I went over to Australia, did some races over there. I've been doing a little bit more off-season races, I think, to make up for what I missed. So that's been a little different.
Yeah, right now, this off-season, I'm quite a bit more grounded. I have some really good people around me. Our bikes are already established that I'm going to ride. Rick Ware Racing's working hard with Shayna. And it's almost like the last 2 off seasons, really, 22 into 23 and 23 into 24 were brutal, really hectic. So this year it's a little less hectic. We have a little bit more solid ground, I guess I would say, and I'm stressing quite a bit less. So that feels pretty good. I have a lot of trust in the people around me, and I'm just excited to get back to testing and getting on the new bike and stuff like that. So excited. Yeah, for me, accomplishments is a championship. Like that's the goal. I work really hard on myself, my racing, my craft, and I think that I deserve to be in the title contention, like talk. And that's just what my goal is. So win races, podium every weekend, and just be consistent. Help grow the sport of flat track, and just be a better person. So that's the outlook for 2025.
2025, the goal remains the same as it did in 2024. I want to win the Grand National Championship for sure. It's going to be really tough. This year's going to be a little bit different with the new rules changes and everything going production bikes. I feel like I've got a really good base with my team, staying with them again, Essenson Racing. They're an amazing group of people. I really love it there. I really don't want to leave. Hopefully they never get rid of me. But yeah, the goal is to win. But just keep building on what we've done. I love racing motorcycles. I love being a part of it, and I want to win. So just whatever it takes to get to that point, we're going to try to do this year.
So cool chatting with those guys down at Winter Throwdown. And I really want to thank every rider that took time to speak with us down there at that event. The amount of help that you guys have given us with putting these shows together, it means the world. So thank you to everybody who took time to chat with us down there. There's a second tier of riders that was really fighting for 5th in points last year, that being Davis Fisher, Jared Vanderkoy, and Brandon Price. And it's no disrespect, but I think these guys are probably going to be sort of in the same area this year, maybe fighting for 4th in points. But I fully expect either Fisher, Vanderkoy, or Price, one of them to get a victory in 2025. We mentioned Davis Fisher got that 2nd place at Springfield. Granted, he won't be on the Indian anymore with it being outlawed, but Davis coming off 5th in points, and he had 8 top 5s last year. So I could see Davis definitely getting that 2nd career win. He got that epic victory in Charlotte back in 2021 when he beat Jared Mees. That was a wild night that saw a lot of ups and downs. But Davis is a very capable rider. He showed a lot of speed and was right up there fighting with JD Beach there at the Sturgis TT, and had that really scary moment with the barriers there. But Davis is one of those riders who we'll see if he can put a full night together, and it sounds like he's still going to be with familiar faces there at Rackley. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish. Jared Vanderkoy is moving over to Fast Track Racing, so he again will not be on an Indian motorcycle next year. He's taking over those KTMs that Bronson Bauman was riding.
2024, honestly, it didn't meet our expectations, but we were proud of what we did with what we had. It was one of those seasons going in that we didn't know we were going to make the full season at all, and we ended up doing that with the small program we put together, thanks to the GoFundMe's and all the sponsors, Fairway Forward, everyone like that, Jay Maloney. I think we were 6th or 7th overall in the championship, which wasn't our goal. We wanted to be in that top 5 and fight for more podiums, but we got 2 podiums on the year, 2 third places, and just trying to better that going into this next year. New team, new bike, and really happy with it so far. So we're looking forward to striving for Daytona. We're excited for it.
Jared's ridden a KTM at Springfield in 2023 with a little bit of help from Wally Brown. He had a couple of top 10s on that bike that day. Jared coming off of 6th in points last year and had the best finish of a podium, so he got in the box with that Indian. Jared's going to be wanting more out of this year, and we'll see how he and Davis dice it up here in this battle. I think Vanderkooi is somebody who could be fighting up there, trying to sneak onto that podium. These 3 riders, and we'll get to Brandon Price in a second, these 3 riders are kind of the potential title spoilers, and they could definitely factor in and take points away from that sort of top 3 that we're looking at. Brandon Price picked up a couple of podiums last year, was really amazing start to his season. Had that great performance in Daytona the opening night. Had an amazing ride at DuQuoin, up there fighting for the lead during that race and battling that infection. Sounds like Price is still going to be with that OTB racing team. Familiarity with those Yamahas. He was 7th in points. Only 17 points separated Fisher, Vanderkooi, and Price at the end of the year. And Price missed Peoria, so he didn't even get to race that event, which definitely hurt him in this battle for 5th in the points. So these 3 riders, it's just a matter of which one of them could potentially take a victory on the season. I really do think that one of them has the capability. They definitely got the skill set. It's just a matter of trying to slow down the momentum of the talents and the speed of the Estenson program and Robinson and Bauman. These guys have been at the top of this class the last few years, and these 3 are definitely looking for breaking through for a win. Price still chasing his first Twins victory. Vanderkooi and Fisher have found that success before on the Indian. Can they find it on another brand now? Speaking of another brand, Max Whale is going to be hopping off of a Harley and onto the Royal Enfield. Max right now is the only rookie contender last year to be coming back to the Twins class. We mentioned we don't know what Declan's going to be doing. We mentioned Bruner hopping back onto the singles. So Max is going to be jumping on the Royal Enfield. He's been training with a lot of the Turner guys at Johnny Lewis's compound down there. So he's getting a lot of insight and time on this bike to kind of prepare for Daytona. Max got a top 10 in points a year ago. He had the best finish of 6th, and that's all while having to miss a couple of events after an injury that he sustained during the 2024 season. So Max will be looking to improve on that and finish higher up in the running order week in, week out. But with the Royal Enfield, we saw that it is capable of finding the box. Dalton Gauthier with that epic ride in Middletown, putting that Royal Enfield on the box after that late race pass on Billy Ross and that charge through the field where Jared and Dalton were making moves past everybody. So we'll see what Max is able to do on this machine here in 2025. Again, so many riders hopping on new brands, and Dan Bromley's not going to be with the Honda team anymore, so he's going to be on a different bike. Bromley and Smith, Cameron Smith, that is, a couple of Pennsylvania riders who were just outside the top 10 in points a year ago. It sounds like Cam Smith's still going to be on those Schaefer's Motorsports KTMs, so he'll have a little bit of familiarity. Cam had a couple of really good rides in Daytona, and so we'll see what those guys can do. I feel like Max and Cam and Dan probably going to be fighting for around that like 7th to, they're going to be in the mix with some of these rookies fighting in that like 7th to 11th, 12th range. We mentioned rookies, and while I think technically only one of these next 3 riders counts as a rookie, guys moving up into the class for 2025 on a full pull will be Trent Lowe, competing on the Big Red Super Twins Honda, and James Ott will be taking over the G&G Yamaha ride, and Justin Jones will be hopping on a KTM with support from First Impressions Racing. And man, those First Impressions camps and the Turner Racing camp, those are a lot of fun to be part of. It's been cool to hang out with those guys during the off season and see how things are going in their pit area, getting to chat with them down at Winter Throwdown and at the Southeast Flat Track opener in Mid-Carolina. I'm going to start with Trent. We've got to see him run that twin a lot this offseason. Getting a bunch of laps on that machine to get acclimated. Trent coming off of a very successful tenure on the Turner Racing bikes in the singles class. He got his first singles victories in 2023, was fighting for podiums and wins last year, just couldn't quite break through, but still coming through with a 4th place finish in the singles class in the points. He did run that Honda at Lake Ozark. He put it in the show. Had to come home with 16th, but Trent's been putting a lot of time in on that bike, and in the off season, getting a lot of notes on it and helping with that program to get more comfortable as we head into 2025. And he seems pretty confident. James Ott, again, the G&G ride. A lot of time on that bike in the off season. We've seen a lot of clips of him out in California out testing it. James had a really strong singles season going before his injury and missing those last few rounds. He was fighting with Trent for fourth in points. James was able to put that first impressions bike on the podium. So the team, this bike has seen success. Obviously, the Production Twins Championships with Corey Texter, Kolby Carlile with very strong runs at Sacramento in 2023, I believe, fighting toward the front of the pack for podium efforts on that bike, which was really fun to see them get up in the mix in that Super Twins class with a bike that wasn't an Indian or an Estenson machine. So James, a very good rider. We'll see how he acclimates to the bike and how he stacks up against the best riders in the world here in the twins class when he's on those G&G bikes. But it's good to see that he's had a lot of familiarity with it here in this off season, so he's more comfortable and it's not a brand new thing going into Daytona. Justin Jones, again, that first impressions ride that we mentioned. Now, Jones has had a few twin starts in his career. So he had 5 on a Kawasaki, and then 2017, in fact, all of his super twin starts have been on a Kawasaki. His best finish thus far is a 12th. And Jones on these KTMs, it's probably going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed with him. But Justin is a guy who does very well on short tracks. He had a really impressive start to his season in Daytona. He's a singles winner in Daytona in the past. He won that Al Lamb Dallas Honda Challenge up in New York on that very slick half mile. Was a top 5 runner on that night. Really strong run from him. DTX Expert Champion up in Canada last year. Now hopping on these twins again. We'll see what Justin Jones has in store for us. And it's just nice to see more riders stepping up and elevating into the twins class. We were worried what the grids were going to look like. There were a lot of times last year where we were, not sure how things were going to turn out. And again, with the rule changes and losing the Indian, what was this year going to present for us? But it sounds like a lot of people have stepped up, and several rides have become available. And I think we could have a very enticing set of tiers for this year. So how are these riders elevating? What's their season going to look like? How are they going to factor into who's going to be the best of those 3? I'd probably give the edge. I might give the edge to James a little bit just because of the G&G bike being more established than the Honda Twin or the First Impressions KTM bikes. But these guys would be so fun to watch, and I'm really glad to see all 3 of them stepping up into the Twins class. And Trent throughout the offseason has definitely progressed in his comfort level on those Honda Twins as well.
I mean, I've been wanting to move up to the Super Twins class for a couple of years now, but yeah, I just really wanted to ride for the Turner Racing Hondas first. I felt like I've been wanting to ride for them for a while. So yeah, to kind of do 2 years with Turner Racing, and now I've kind of done everything I really wanted to in the singles class. I obviously wanted to win a championship, but not too big of a goal for me. I want to move up to twins, and that's where most of my goals lie at. I feel like the twin suits me better. So
2024, I'd give it like a B probably. It was going good by the end there. The second half of the season, we were really coming on strong, but unfortunately I got hurt. In that first half of the season, I was way off. So I'd give it a B. The team and I, like I said, we started working together really good halfway through the season, and I'm really proud of that. But at the same time, you got to be honest with yourself.
2024 was a great year for me. I kind of took a step back from AFT, only doing select rounds, focused on racing Canadian series. I had some support from Husqvarna Canada, and they made that possible for me. It was a great year. Tons of wins, tons of podiums. Was able to win the DTX Expert Championship in Canada, and I'd like to race there more in next few years. But we're focusing back on AFT for 2025. This year I signed a deal with First Impressions Race Team. I'll be moving up to the Super Twins class, riding on KTM Twins. I couldn't be more excited. It's been a long time coming. I know the fans and sponsors have been asking for a long time, when are you going to go up to the Twins class? We think you'd be better on it. Well, now we're going to find out, and I'm excited for it.
For me, this off-season's been really cool because it's the first time I've ever had a replica of the race bike at home to ride. So I've been riding it a lot, and it's the most testing I've ever done on it. The way it came about really was LJ and John Gronick. We've known them for a while, and they needed a rider this year, and I wanted to move up to Twins, and they've always been supporters of mine. So that kind of just worked out, and God put it in our paths, lined our paths together.
there's a lot of stuff we've changed. It's development nonstop and changing stuff, trying to find out what we can do better, and just getting me more seat time. It's completely new to me. I feel like it suits me well, but yeah, it's a lot of great guys working on the bike, and I feel like there's no chance that we won't figure it out.
Expectations, I'm going to try to do my best and just get as far forward in every race as I can. I'd like to go for the Rookie of the Year and just be up front with the guys. I know there's a lot of heavy hitters on new bikes, and hopefully I can take advantage of them being on new bikes and I'm on a more developed bike. So I'm going to go in with high expectations, but I'm also going to be realistic. I don't know if I'm going to be battling for a championship or anything, but I'm going to try to be up front as much as I can, and I'm always giving it my all on the track. You can count on that.
The wild cards. You never know who's going to show up on any given night. And we've heard that Sammy Halbert's going to be down in Daytona. He's going to run 5 rounds on the year, it sounds like, after listening to his podcast episode here recently. So he's going to be on a Kawasaki, it sounds like, in Daytona. So different from the Harley XR750, which is also outlawed. Again, end of an era, completely different American flat track this year. But Sammy had a lot of success on that Harley last year, was winning Dash for Cashes, was up in the front fighting for wins, putting together some solid performances. So having familiarity at Daytona, having found a lot of success there on a single, he's won at the premier level before. So we'll see what they can find with that Kawasaki. I'm very curious to see what that thing's able to do. The Kawasaki has been the forgotten brand of the Twins class here lately. It's been kind of viewed as a field filler. But we'll see what this team is able to do. Sammy's super talented, has had a really fun offseason promoting and riding, and he's putting a lot of effort into getting himself ready. And I feel like the people he's got behind him are going to make sure that Cowie doesn't just be a field filler. Sammy wants to be up front, contesting for a spot on the box. Ideally, he wants to get another win and be on top of the box and avenge the one that got away there the opening night in Daytona when he was running toward the front. And man, just to see Sammy back on the podium with that XR750 was so cool last year.
But we are building the twin, but can't say what it is right now, but should be pretty badass.
Dalton Gauthier hint about being on a twin this year. Wasn't able to give any details, but Dalton can put anything, I feel like, on the podium. He's such a talented rider, putting that Royal Enfield on the box. Dalton being the only rider to podium a single and a twin last year, super cool for him. So we'll see what Dalton's able to do if he decides to elevate up into the twins class later this year and they get all those things sorted out. If Dalton could get a win on the twin, man, that would be so epic for him. And we'll just see what their program comes together. Cool that they're just having fun with it, and so good that they're still involved. Dalton is one of the best branded riders in this sport with how he presents himself, promotes, whether it's the merch or the social media presence. And such a fun guy to talk to at the track, a great style, and we're just glad that he's still going to be in the pits this year. A rider who's been really impressive this offseason, and I'm just not sure what direction they're going to go, whether it's singles or twins, and that's Billy Ross. He's won a bunch of races down in Florida. He was spicy at the Panhandle Clash. All this stuff coming on a 450, though. So Billy almost had that podium last year before Dalton stole it from him in Middletown, and Billy was running the Kawasaki that night. So where's Billy Ross going to factor in? Is he going to stay on the twin and run rounds there, or is he going to shift back into the single where he's found a lot of success on those 450s this offseason and looked really sporty? We've had a long offseason. We've had these spurts of excitement, whether it's the Southeast Racing or SDTA or the indoor stuff, the Panhandle Clash, Winter Throwdown obviously makes us super happy. And once again, I can't thank these riders enough for taking time out of their busy day. That was a long weekend, but thank you all so much for chatting with us and allowing us to incorporate these interviews into the video. And it just means the world to hear from everybody and to get their thoughts on it. So that way you don't have to just listen to my annoying voice this whole time. But seriously, thank you guys so much for the support in this project. Please make sure you're listening to all those podcasts that are involved in the sport. Sideways podcast with myself and Kolby Carlile. Tank Slapping podcast with Corey Texter and Eric Hartley. Off the Groove with Scotty Dubler. Pipe Dreams, James Rispoli and Corey Alexander. Sure, it's more road racing focused, but they do an incredible job with that. Sammy Halbert with all the stuff he's doing on YouTube and OnlyFans and all his social media stuff that he's doing. How we doing Roger that and their involvement in the sport and what they've been able to do and giving back into this sport is incredible. And speaking of giving back to the sport, if you can, please support Back on Track charities for all that they do to help these injured riders in the sport. It's been amazing to see all their raffles and all the stuff that they do to step up to help injured riders in this sport. It's so dangerous. And I think we take a lot of this a lot of this for granted in this sport that we love so much. So please support Back on Track if you're able to. And just everybody that's involved in this, let's get the positivity going, man. Let's get the vibes high. Daytona's right around the corner. I wish we were going to be able to go down to Bike Week. Unfortunately, I have to have a scan done on my heart, meet with the old cardiologist. I guess I just got so much love for you that my heart's getting overwhelmed. But we're going to get that all checked out, and hopefully I'll get to see you guys maybe down in Sonoy or at the RVA race and maybe at Mid-Carolina a couple times later in the year. But thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, for supporting the sport. Please give these riders all your love. Please give these sponsors and these tracks all your love. Follow along with Flo Racing. If you can't make it to the AFT events this year, follow along on Fans Choice for the Corey Texter series. Keep up with RPM Promotions and the events that they're going to have streamed. Guys, we need to support all this. And let's just enjoy flat track racing. Let's give these riders our love. Let's give us all that we can this year. And let's have a great 2025, everybody. Let's go.